Hi friends, and welcome back to DLee's World. I'm so excited to be reading some stories with you today. Are you ready? Great. You know I love to start off with a song, so let's put our hands up. Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? How are you today? Hello, DLee. Hello to all my friends. Hello, everyone. How are you today? Today's story is called The Good Egg, and it's written by Jory and Pete Oswald. I have a story, what could it be? I have a story, come listen and see. I have a story, what could it be? Gather around to read with me. The Good Egg. By the way, what do you think this story might be about? Let's look at the picture. So what do you see? You see an egg. Okay. He's wearing glasses. There's an egg carton. Okay. So maybe this will give us some insight into what the story could be about, or maybe it won't, right? So let's find out and see. Oh, hello. I was just rescuing this cat. Know why? Because I'm a good egg. A very good egg. It's true, I do all kinds of good things, like I'll carry your groceries, I'll water your plants, I'll change your tires, I'll paint your house. If you need any help whatsoever, I'm your egg. I've always been a good egg. It's been this way from the start, even in my earliest days, back at the store. There were a dozen of us living together under one recycled roof. And there was Meg and Peg and Greg and Clegg and Shell and Shelly and Sheldon and Shelby and Egbert and Frank and other Frank. The other 11 eggs weren't on their best behavior. They weren't exactly good. They ignored their bedtime. They only ate sugary cereal. They threw tantrums. They cried for no reason. They broke their stuff on purpose. Meanwhile, I tried to take charge. I tried to fix their bad behavior. I tried to keep the peace. Because I was a good egg. A very good egg. Nobody seemed to care, though. Every night I was exhausted. My head felt scrambled. Then one fateful morning, I noticed some cracks in my shell. Yikes! Kick me. They were everywhere. My doctor said it was from all the pressure I was putting on myself. The pressure of making sure everybody was as good as me. I was cracking up, literally. Something had to change. I'd had enough. I told Meg and Peg and Greg and Clegg and Shell and Shelly and Sheldon and Shelby and Egbert and Frank and other Frank that I was leaving. I can't be the only good egg in a bad carton, I said. Blah, 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 they replied. I left that night. I wandered from town to town. The hours became days. The days became weeks. I lost track of time. I was alone. Out there, on the road, under the stars, I really tried to focus on myself and what I needed. I took walks. I read books. I floated in the river. I wrote in my journal. I found simple moments to be quiet. I breathed in. I breathed out. I even started painting. For once, I found time for me. And guess what? Little by little,
the cracks in my shell started to heal. My head no longer felt scrambled. I started to feel like myself again. So I've made a big decision. I'm returning to my old carton and my friends. Besides, I'm kind of lonely out here. This time, I know what I need to do. I'll try not to worry so much. I'll be good to my fellow eggs while also being good to myself. Here we go. Everybody missed me. I missed them too. Welcome home. Hello, Meg. Howdy, Peg. Hey, Greg. Greetings, Greg. What's up, Shell? Aloha, Shelly. Hey, yo, Sheldon. Hi, Shelby. Good day, Egbert. What's happening, Frank? Howdy do, other Frank. Sure, every once in a while somebody's still a little bit bad, but it's not like before. Here's what I realized. The other eggs aren't perfect, and I don't have to be either. I'm okay with that. Yup, the old carton is back together. We're a solid dozen again. It's good to be home. The end. I hope you friends enjoyed that story. Till next time. Hi friends, and welcome back to Storytime with me, DiLee Santa Maria. But of course, you can call me DLee. Today's story is called Bark George, and it's written by Jules Feiffer. I have a story, what could it be? I have a story, come listen and see. I have a story, what could it be? Gather around to read with me. George's mother said, "Bark, George." George went, "Meow." "No, George," said George's mother. "Cats go meow, dogs go arf. Now bark, George." George went, "Quack, quack." "Oh, no, George," said George's mother. "Dogs go quack, quack, dogs go arf. Now bark, George." George went, "Oink." "No, George," said George's mother. "Pigs go oink, dogs go arf. Now bark, George." George went, "Moo." George's mother took George to the vet. "I'll soon get to the bottom of this," said the vet. "Please bark, George." George went, "Meow." The vet reached deep down inside of George and pulled out a cat. "Bark again, George." George went, "Quack, quack." The vet reached deep down inside of George and pulled out a duck. "Bark again, George." George went, "Oink." The vet reached deep, deep down inside of George and pulled out a pig. "Bark again, George." George went, "Moo." The vet put on his longest latex glove. What do you think he got? Then he reached deep, 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 deep down inside of George and pulled out a cow. "Bark again, George." George went, "Arf." George's mother was so thrilled that she kissed the vet and the cat and the duck and the pig and the cow. On the way home, she wanted to show George off to everyone on the street. So she said, "Bark, George." And George went, The end. I hope your friends enjoyed that silly story. Till next time. Hi friends, and welcome back to Storytime with me, DiLee Santamaria. But of course, you can call me DLee. Today's story is called Po Won't Go, and it's written by Kelly DiPucchio with illustrations by Zachariah O'Hara. I have a story, what could it be? I have a story, come listen and see. I have a story, what could it be? Gather round to read with me. One morning, the good people of Prickly Valley awoke to find an elephant sitting smack dab in the middle of the only road in town. How he got there was a mystery. His name was Po. It didn't take long for a traffic jam to form around the uninvited elephant. Horns honked. People yelled from their cars. A policeman wrote him a ticket. But Po wouldn't go. So the good people of Prickly Valley took to banging pots and pans to shoo him away. They blew trombones and blasted megaphones. They tugged and tickled and tap danced. But Po wouldn't go. The crowd grew larger and louder. People begged, please, 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 and booed, geez, and bribed, cheese, but Po still wouldn't go. As the day wore on, the townspeople grew more clever. They brought in mice and magnets and motivational speakers. You can do it! You can go! Copters and cranes and clowns with horn squeakers. But there wasn't a pastor or plow in town who knew how to get Po to go. Not even the amazing Carl could make the elephant disappear. Finally, the mayor arrived on the scene. We do not tolerate parked pachyderms in Prickly Valley, she proclaimed. The mayor formed committees and councils. They hatched plans, drew diagrams, and drank coffee from styrofoam cups. By late afternoon, the entire town of Prickly Valley and the neighboring village of Ottersville are lined up behind the stubborn elephant. Hee-ho! Go, Po! Remarkably, that plan failed as well. As did this one, and that one. Nope, nothing doing. The townspeople were fresh out of ideas. And Po, well, you know. Seriously? A girl named Marigold approached the mayor. Excuse me, ma'am? Has anyone asked Po why he won't go? Ha ha ha! Ask him, child. The good people of Prickly Valley do not speak elephant. Well, anyone can speak elephant if they just listen hard enough, said Marigold, who was fluent in both kitten and hedgehog. The girl climbed up the ladder, pressed her ear to Po's forehead, and closed her eyes. Marigold concentrated. A minute passed before she addressed the crowd. He said he's waiting for a friend, she announced. And his friend is very late. That's preposterous, hissed the mayor. You're making that up. A news reporter chimed in. Hey, kid! Can you ask the elephant if by chance his friend is wearing a polka dot tie? Marigold leaned into the elephant for a second time. Someone remove that silly girl, the mayor snapped. It's getting late, and this is a waste of precious... Marigold interrupted the mayor's rant. He said it's possible. The news reporter chuckled. Well, then it's possible this elephant is sitting on his friend. And just like that, Poe got up and he went with his friend, Mo. I wonder where they'll go. The end. Thanks for listening to that silly story. Until next time, friends.
Hi, friends, and welcome back to Storytime with me, DiLee Santamaria. But of course, you can call me DLee. Today's story is called The Couch Potato, and it's written by Jory John and Pete Oswald. I have a story, what could it be? I have a story, come listen and see. I have a story, what could it be? Gather around to read with me. So friends, real quick, let's look at the cover and think about the title. The Couch Potato, right? And we see a potato sitting on a couch, or a sofa. And what is this potato doing? Right? I see a remote control, so he could be watching TV, and there's gadgets all around him. See a cell phone, a headset, and then a video game remote. Do you think that this potato likes to hang out on his sofa or his couch? Absolutely, right? So it seems like he really enjoys being on the sofa. So let's dive into the story and see what happens. Are you ready? Thumbs up? Excellent. I am a potato. Not a small potato like my brother. Not a sweet potato like my mother. Not a mashed potato like my Uncle Stu. I'm a couch potato. Oh yeah, it's true. My favorite place to slouch is on the couch. I spend all my free time sitting in this exact spot. See? I have this, and this, and this, and one of these, and those, and this, and that, and these. Oh, and this. Check it out. This button activates a gadget that fetches me snacks whenever I want. Bam! Impressed? And I don't have to move an inch. Much easier than going to the kitchen. If the most important thing in life is to be comfortable at all times, then I think I've got it all figured out. But wait, there's more. I haven't revealed the absolute best part of my whole setup. It's everything you see in front of me. Have a look around. Take it all in. Pretty spectacular, right? Yes, it's a sea of shimmering screens from wall to shining wall. What joy! What bliss! These screens feature my favorite shows. Fries, Mad Yam, blah, 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 blah. This screen has all my unanswered messages. These screens are where I play video games. And this screen is a live stream of my friend, my best bud for life. This is how my pals and I spend quality time together. It's much easier than trying to meet up somewhere like folks did in the old days. That's for sure. Hey, Spuddy. Hey, Pal-tato. Yes, from this very couch, I can control everything in my life all the time with just a few taps and a couple of clicks. Not bad, eh? Yes, sirree. This is the life. At least, that's what I thought until one day. Something strange happened. There was a knock at the door. It was a delivery. Whoosh!
Woohoo! It was my newest device, a video camera that would allow me to watch myself react while I was watching all my favorite shows. All I had to do was plug it in, and my room, my kingdom would be complete. But suddenly, pew! Everything went dark. Look out! Coming through! Whoops! Oof! Ow! Whoop! I made it to the window. I pulled back the curtains. The sun seemed brighter than I remembered. There was nothing better to do, so I decided to take my dog, Tater, for a walk outside. It had been a while. Everything was so vivid, like a high-resolution 156-inch curved screen, but even more realistic. Something smelled fresh. After a few moments, I realized that it was the air. I heard a noise, some chirps, a ringtone perhaps? But no, I looked up to see some birds. Tweet, 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 tweet. I wandered down the street from block to block and across the neighborhood. Eventually, I found a park with a hill. There was a massive tree on top. It looked like a desktop background, only it was real. I leaned against the tree. It wasn't as comfortable as my couch, not even close. But after a while, it wasn't so bad. Any worries about the power outage and what I might be missing drifted away. I wasn't thinking about my favorite shows or my unanswered messages or anything else, really. I noticed the stillness, the view, the sky, the clouds, the sunset, and those colors. My goodness. It took a while because there was no fast-forward option, but eventually the sun sank below the horizon. By the time I got home, the power was back on. I sat on the couch. Whew! I hit the button to brush my teeth. I pulled the lever to change my pajamas. I turned the knob to watch a bedtime story. Then, I noticed my reflection on one of the screens. I wondered how much of my life had been spent in that very spot. It was then and there that I made the decision to peel myself off the couch a bit more often. Maybe every day even. And so that's what I've done. I've started hanging out with my friends, my best buddies, outside. We've started biking and hiking and swimming and hiding and seeking. Sometimes we have snacks and we play board games. Sometimes we talk all day. We might watch the clouds. There's no big plan. We just see what happens. It makes me wonder, what if I don't always need to be totally comfortable? What if I'm happier when I have a better balance between my gadgets and the world outside? Because it turns out that I'm more than just a couch potato. I'm a musing potato. I'm a smart potato. I'm a kind potato. I'm an entertaining potato. And I'm a sit on a hill and watch the sunset potato. Yes, there's a great big world out there, and I want to be a part of it in person. But don't get me wrong, at the end of a long day, after I run and played and talked and laughed with my friends, I still think it's awfully nice to slouch on the couch. The end. What did you think about that story, friends? Did you like it? Well, I hope you did. Till next time.
Hi friends, and welcome back to Storytime with me, DiPucchio Santa Maria. But of course, you can call me DLee. Today's story is called Grumpy Pants, and it's written by Claire Messer. Have you ever felt grumpy before? Yeah, me too. Sometimes I get grumpy, but let's see how Penguin gets out of his grumpy feelings. Are you ready? I have a story, what could it be? I have a story, come listen and see. I have a story, what could it be? Gather round to read with me. Grumpy Pants.
Penguin was in a bad mood. A very bad mood. He didn't know why he didn't care. He stomped his feet all the way home. He pulled off his grumpy coat and kicked off his grumpy boots. But he was still grumpy. He tried to shake it off, but he was still grumpy. So he pulled off one grumpy sock and then the other. But he was still grumpy. So he took off his grumpy overalls. Nope, still grumpy. Finally, he took off his grumpy underpants. I'm still grumpy, you know? Then Penguin took a deep breath and he counted. 1, 2, 3. Splash! The water was nice and cold. Penguin played with his duck. He hid under the water and made himself a bubble beard. Little by little, he was starting to feel much better. It was time to get out of the tub. He put on his favorite pajamas, and he had a steaming cup of hot chocolate. He read his favorite book. He found his favorite teddy bear and climbed into bed. As Penguin fell asleep, he knew that tomorrow would be a good day because all the grumpiness had been washed away. The end. I hope you friends enjoyed that story. Did you see how even though Penguin started off grumpy, he was able to let go of all of those feelings? Something to think about, right? Maybe we can try that sometime. All right, friends, thanks for listening. See you soon.
I had such a wonderful time reading stories with you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Are you ready for our goodbye song? Okay. Remember, put your hands up like this, and we're gonna do goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. Okay, so I showed that to you for the first time, right? So let's do it again together. You ready? Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. One more time. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. You guys did a great job listening today. I hope you remember all the stories and lessons that we learned. Till next time, okay? Bye, guys.